Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Today is December 13th, and this is another of our bi-weekly SIG Apps call. My name is Maciej, and I'll be your host today. Announcements. I forgot to add it, but there is a contributor celebration happening this Friday. And as one of the events, I will be holding either SIG Apps or SIG CLI deep dive, depending on how many people will be interested in one or the other SIG involvement. So whether I'll be talking about controllers or the CLI itself, how to construct them, any questions, or maybe there will be I'll be jumping between one another and answering different questions. That will entirely depend on the participants. So that will be kind of like AMA on SIG apps and SIG CLI. That's how I'm hoping to do it. I'll link the schedule and the particular event after this call. Janet, Ken, do you have any other announcements other than we're open for 124 basically because the 123 was released last week?
Nope.
Okie
No.
doke.
Okay, good.
Okie doke. So I sent out an email on Friday about 124 planning since, like I said, we are slowly rolling up our sleeves for 124, especially around the caps, which it'll take some time. Usually not enough time to merge them. We don't have any particular dates that I'm aware of, but if I find them, I'll make sure to update the agenda with the links as well. So far on our board, we have 4 caps that I'm aware of that we will be addressing, or 4 enhancements that we will be addressing as part of the 124 cycle. And those are max and available for stateful sets, which is probably the longest awaited feature. From what I was checking on Friday, we are slowly working on it since 2019. Ravi and Mayank are pushing this forward. We are hoping that 124 will be the time when we will be able to finish this one. Ravi with Philip will be also working on the consolidating statuses for controllers. And from what I've heard from them, the goal is to have the initial version of the cap merged by 124. So no particular work will be most likely starting around that time, but we are hoping to get the ideas out. The third topic that Morten volunteered to pick up, which is a follow-up from a discussion that we had a couple weeks back, which is about PDBs and how they are counting not ready pods, because currently there are differences in between how controllers and how PDB themselves are treating not ready pods. Morten already opened a cap. We are hoping to roll this as an alpha in 124. Lastly, after recent problems with cron job time zone parsing, or specifically with an upgrade that we did to the parsing library for cron spec, there was a slow window when it was possible to inject the time zone through a unsupported environment variable. There was an ask about supporting time zones for cron jobs for quite a while. We've been putting it aside for quite a while because we were waiting to, first of all, GA the cron job. And as part of that work, we were also changing the controller. Now that the majority of that work has been completed, we will be picking up the time zone support. And if I remember correctly, there's already a PR changing the API and the controller to support the time zone. So I'm hoping to open a cap describing the process, how it will be rolled out over the next couple releases. Does anyone else have any other topics that they know that either they themselves will be working for 124 or that they would like to see someone else pick up for 124? I'm pretty sure that they might that they will be some topics coming from Alda and Abdullah, which are our colleagues from the SIG scheduling. They have been working on improving the majority of the batch workloads. So I'm pretty confident that they will be continuing their work. So there is a high chance that some of their items will also show up on this list. I'll double check with them and we'll include that in the agenda, especially which particular caps that they are thinking about addressing in 124. And I remember that there was a topic about automatic PVC deletion for stateful sets. But I remember that in 123 that was alpha. So I'll double check with the author if he will be pursuing 124 to upgrade this feature into beta around that time.
I think Matt was interested in doing that.
Okay. Matt Farina or
Carrie, I believe it was.
okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. The author. Yes. Yeah. So I guess I'll reach out to him and ask him, and I'll update the agenda accordingly so that people that will be looking afterwards can easily track the work that is happening in the next releases. Does anyone else have any other topics or issues that they want to bring up with the group? Okay, hearing none.
Did we talk about the working group?
Oh, right. So there is a proposal, but I don't see anyone from the.
Yeah, we should probably get them in, but we can at least like broaden.
But yeah, so there was an email last week, if I remember correctly, and I'll try to dig up that particular email about opening either a work group or a special interest group about batch. This is the link. Let me open it up quickly. And I'll send it to the chat as well. So this is coming from Abdullah and Aldo. So these are basically the folks that were working on job API enhancements such as index job suspension, improving the tracking of pods in a job, and a lot of work that is devoted to improving the NUMA-aware scheduling and scheduler and in general. So the proposal from them is to have either a special interest group or a working group devoted entirely to batch workloads. If you read through this pretty lengthy issue, the majority of the folks are leaning towards proposing a working group, especially that the outcomes are not fully known yet. And on top of that, it is a cross-referencing two SIGs that we know already. So that will be both SIG scheduling, because a lot of the NUMA-aware stuff is related with scheduling, and as well as the SIG apps. Someone also mentioned SIG Note, which might be also interested in this work. So the majority of the suggestion is to start with a working group, try to figure out the scope of the work, what the end goal is, and eventually further decide what to do with this, whether to create a separate sub project or a special interest group devoted entirely into this topic. Does anyone have any, I don't know, thoughts, questions, suggestions? Specifically for this topic, feel free to leave your comment on the issue. I think it's definitely something of an interest for some of us at least.
Yeah, I don't see how it could be a SIG just because it's not clear to me what code they would own. Unless they wanted to take the batch from workloads, which really doesn't make sense to me to open up a SIG just for that code. For a working group, it makes a lot of sense because, again, it crosses a bunch of boundaries. It's not even clear whether, I imagine there probably will be some modifications to Node, but definitely scheduling and the workloads APIs would be part of it. So that seems like a good use of a working group to me, like the intended use of a working group, basically, to me. And, you know, I guess the other part that's unclear to me is if it evolves to a place where they like want to build new controllers or another project on top, that sounds great. But until that point, and at that point, maybe it's a SIG, but until then, I would say a working group. And maybe even at that point, we keep the working group and you have a SIG that does the other stuff on top of it.
Yeah, it could be easily a SIG owned sub project, even co-owned between SIG scheduling, SIG node, and SIG apps, depending on the scope and the interaction of what it is attaching. If it is just a controller, then it's sufficient to have it under just SIG apps. If it will be, if it will have a tighter integration at different levels, let's say it'll have its own scheduler logic, because that's possible as well, then a cross SIG sub project is definitely something worthy, because like you said, having entirely separate SIG with the current number of SIGs is a good starting point. Scrolling through the issue towards the end, I see that the majority basically agreed that they will start with a working group. And so I'm guessing that there will be a PR soon after.
We should reach out to them to see if they want us to sponsor from SIG Apps, or if they need a SIG App sponsor as well. And then just go from there then, if that's where they're already sort of aligned.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other topics that folks want to put up for discussion or to the SIG Apps attention? Okay, hearing none. With that, I'm going to close the call. Thank you very much. And the meeting in 2 weeks is canceled because that will be right after holidays. So most of us will be out around that time. So see you all in the new year. Thank you very much. Enjoy holidays.
And for everybody when we don't talk to, happy holidays, happy new year.